Welcome to the Grumpy Guy BJJ podcast with your hosts James Wilson and Rob Eickhoff. We are here making friends and solving problems one podcast at a time.
Okay, we're live, back for episode 9 of Grumpy Guy BJJ podcast. I'm your co-host James Wilson here with my buddy Rob Eickhoff. Rob, how's it going?
Yo, it's going good, James. How are you, buddy?
Good, man. Things are going well. So this is the first podcast of the new year, 2018. So I don't know how long it's going to take me to remember to put 18 at the end of the dates.
I was screwing that up for the past 2 days at work. You know, all the paperwork I had to do, I was constantly scratching out the 7 and writing the 8.
Yeah.
Such an idiot.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm sure it's probably pretty common. I mean, unless you're real neurotic and you start practicing, a month or two beforehand. Anyway, between last podcast and this one, we had our side control basics workshop. So, what'd you think about that?
Went pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it went well, man.
Went pretty good.
Yeah.
We had a decent little turnout.
Yeah, I was glad
we had 10 people?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't remember counting, but so that was good.
Yeah.
And hopefully they were happy with it. I guess that's the most important part.
I think so, man. I didn't tell you. I was rolling with Connor. Was it after that? Yeah, because I was after Saturday drill class, and dude, he was applying it.
Was he?
Yeah. No, he was past the guard, and he settled at my hips, and I could tell he wanted to keep coming, and usually. He does. He keeps coming for the head, going for the crossface, loses the control of the hips, and so I'm usually able to pretty easily recover because of that. So man, he sat down and was doing a little hip ride, and I was like, damn, dude. I didn't say anything to him at the time, but after we were done rolling, I was like, man, that was good. And he said, it felt like I was kind of having to isolate the hips a little bit, and I was like, man, that's what you want to do. You want to isolate those hips. If you have to, just control those hips. So it's funny, you and I have been to a couple. We went to the Cyborg Abreu seminar, and I remember Junior. I think when he was here out there, Junior way back in the day.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago. It's probably more than that, dude.
Well, he was who I was wrestling with when I blew up my ACL.
ACL, yeah.
And that was in May of 15.
Yeah,
so I guess we're almost coming up on 3 years.
Yeah,
right?
But I remember both of them. They had kind of a similar concept, which was, control the hips. When you pass someone's guard, don't worry about controlling the head and the shoulders and all that. You just get control of those hips, and then start trying to launch control from there. So I think that was a big takeaway. I mean, there were definitely some other things we went over in the workshop. But
dude,
I think
if everybody just got that, it was worth all the time spent. That's really the big takeaway from that.
Yeah,
what I would hope for. Anyway.
And then knowing to build back to the hips, the hips are such a, because we think side control, and we're taught side control is having a crossface, and obviously crossface is super important. And I mean, Coach tells us, crossface kills, son. And and usually we're taught side control from that, settled, we have some control of the hips and the shoulders at the same time position, and that's not. And so we get this idea that when we pass the guard and they say we want to get to side control, that's where we want to go. So you go straight from passing to that position that we're originally taught. Well, this is quote unquote side control, and it takes a little while to understand. No, that's a position that you advance to, and you may not ever actually get there. There's a lot of times you'll pass someone's guard, and you may go from hip ride to knee on belly, or you're doing something so you may never actually hit traditional side control. While we would still consider that okay, you need to get control of from the side. It's really that's all side control means is you're controlling them from the side, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. But man, the hips, that's your beachhead. I remember that was a big aha moment for me. I remember when I was a blue belt making that connection. That's my Normandy beachhead, man. If I can get a beachhead on those hips, I can start launching attacks and doing things from there. But if I don't establish that beachhead, and I'm trying to do other things, and it's a tough thing to do. So I thought it was good, but I think some people definitely took something from it.
That's good. Like I say, that's really what I was thinking about it. Kind of replaying it in my head. If everybody just got that, then I'm happy. With the 2 hours we spent, or hour and a half we spent teaching side control stuff and mobility and a little bit of strength stuff. Yeah, man, as long as they got control of the hips, good.
Yeah.
Call it a success. And
we went over
move
some
forward.
Other things that, anyways, we've got some videos of that we'll be making available here at some point. But no, I thought it was good. I had fun doing it, so we're going to plan another one. Somebody was already asking if we're going to do another one this month. So.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I forget who it was, but that's good. I'm glad we got people interested in our Grumpy Guy Fit. We're starting a fitness class on Saturdays at the gym, 11 before the 12 o'clock.
That'd be good.
Class.
I'm looking forward to that.
Me too, man.
Me too. That'd be good. Because it'll give us, we're going to get to work out with people.
Yeah.
And teach some things it'll help us, as you guys know, that you don't really start learning something until you start teaching it.
Right.
And that's what it's kind of a selfish endeavor for me, is because I haven't done a ton of. Well, I haven't done really much coaching at all on like mobility or the ramping ISO type stuff or steel mace, whatever we start incorporating into this thing. And so it'll be good for me because it'll show me why I'm doing stuff. Like, oh man, maybe, and
you learn a lot, man.
You do. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be good.
No, me too. It's funny. I've been thinking about, because I love coaching and being a strength coach. Just that aspect, getting in there and helping people move better and get stronger, and then hearing from them how that's helping their sport, whether it was mountain biking and now more jiu-jitsu. But I really love that. I've been trying to think, like, how do I do this? And I told you what's really exciting for me is that we're doing it together, because the problem is every time I would try to get something going, I'm doing it by myself. You get a little momentum built, and then you go out of town, or something happens and you miss one class, and then the next class there's like half as many people and all the momentum's killed. So I think us being able to work together to make the classes better and just keep them rolling, even falling back on the Grumpy Gal Kiele if we have to. So we got a little team doing it, which is really cool. I think it'll help us be more consistent with helping people in the class. So I'm pretty pumped on it, man.
I've had a few people seem interested in it already, so hopefully it's a good turnout.
I had a few people as well. So
I think it's a good time too, right before our drills class. So you come in, they get a good workout / warm up. Boom, right into drilling, then some live rolling. That gets. And
I think too that we're gearing it. I mean, we're specifically gearing it for the 30 to 40 plus year old BJJ athlete that's just looking to get more mobile, a little stronger in an efficient and safe way. Nothing wrong with working out being your sport, but I think a lot of people, especially, man, once you've hit like your mid 30s to 40s, you've probably had some bad experience with working out. Either getting hurt or having a coach or a class that just was over the top and really didn't work for you, and so you get this sour taste in your mouth, especially as you get older and you accumulate injuries and you start to become more cautious about what you do, and you're like, man, I don't want to get involved in some fitness class or doing something that's going to potentially hurt me. And so I think that it's funny, we've noted this before, we have a little bit of an older gym. I mean, our average age in the gym is definitely in the 30s, I would say. On any given night on the mat, I would say it's easily in the 30s. We definitely have our 20-year-old studs and guys like that, but there are a lot of more guys in the gym are in that 30, 35, approaching 40-year-old range. And so I think that's why we got some interest, because there's a lot of guys who are in that state of their, that phase of their life where, like, they know they need to work out, but they also know that they need something that's not going to beat the shit out of them, which is really what the whole idea of this is letting people use the stuff that we're using to, be able to work out and perform well.
To be strong and healthy, and because you're going to get dinged up doing jiu-jitsu, and you should never get dinged up or injured in my opinion, if strength training for jiu-jitsu, man. If you're getting, shit's gonna happen sometimes. Yeah. It's never, but man, you should really avoid that at all costs, man. And I've come to terms with the fact that you're going to get hurt doing jiu-jitsu, man. We're not playing fucking patty cake. Like, God damn it! I was going to try to go this whole podcast without dropping the F-bomb. I didn't share that with you, dude. I only made it 10 minutes. God damn it!
It was about exactly the 10-minute mark, bro.
I caught myself. But anyway, sorry guys. I was going to try. It was just a little game for myself. But yeah, if you get hurt strength training for jiu-jitsu, man, you're missing the idea. And that's a really important thing for me. And I've had to learn that lesson the hard way. I've hurt myself strength training. I did CrossFit for a long time. There's nothing wrong with that, but it was CrossFit. I didn't want to be the best worker-outer in the world. I kind of got burnt out on it. But two, man, it's intense.
It's intense,
and
it's almost unsustainable, and it's like purest truth form.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, if you're really going hard with it, especially, I'm 38 years old, 39, like, work full-time job. If I want to be good at jiu-jitsu, I can't be good at CrossFit at the same time. And, it's a whole separate activity.
It is.
It's too intense, and it was just detracting away from my jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So I had to, back off and, okay. Because I enjoyed it, because a lot of the CrossFit community is similar to the jiu-jitsu community, man. It's a tribe. Yeah. You're in there suffering together. That to me, that was the best part of it. But jiu-jitsu is my passion.
Yeah.
And if anything starts interrupting my jiu-jitsu, it's like, whoa, brakes got to get put on.
Yeah, yeah.
I got away with it for quite a few years to where I could do both fairly intense.
Right.
But I think it just started my new injuries started, compounding, and I didn't have enough time to recover, and I'd go try to wrestle, and I'd just be spent. Yeah. And just like, okay, man, this is... it's detracting. It's not adding. It's starting to subtract. So I'm like, all right, man.
That's a tough lesson for a lot of us to learn. I think because we grow up, especially if you are, in your, 40-year-old range. We all grew up in the age of the bodybuilders, Arnold and Dorian Yates and freaking Lee Haney and Ron Coleman, and it's like, dude, you got to freaking work out twice a day. I think we talked about this before, dude. We both were so pumped when we found out. I think we were talking about this before. Like, we found out, you can do 2 days? Are you kidding me? Like, I can go to the gym and work out, and then come back again at night and work out again? Like, this is the best workout plan ever. But that's what that's what you're brought up on. And then again, just not knowing the history of people don't understand how Joe Weider helped shape our idea of fitness through bodybuilding. Way back in the day, you had Joe Weider and Bob Hoffman. And you had muscle and fitness, and you had strength and health. Joe Weider was about bodybuilding, like basically working out for the sake of looking good, and Bob Hoffman was more about like old school Muscle Beach. Like when you look at like the old school Muscle Beach pictures, like these guys look good, but they were doing like handstands and very athletic and Olympic lifting and stuff like that. So it was working out for the sake of performing better and looking good. And Joe Weider, through whatever means, especially leaning on a guy named Arnold Schwarzenegger, he won the PR war. And so that's why most people don't even know who the fuck Bob Hoffman is. And everybody knows who Joe Weider is, and muscle and fitness and flex and that whole thing.
That's such an interesting history, man.
It is an interesting history, but for a long time, bodybuilding was synonymous with strength training. We all remember too. I remember coming up, and it was like, that's all there was. Like, bodybuilding and strength training were the same thing. So if you were an athlete working out, you did bodybuilding because that was all working out was, and bodybuilding was a lot of that. It was a sport unto itself, right? It was like almost like the original CrossFit. You want to see who was the best worker-outer in some ways, and so but yeah, man, it's really hard when you come up and you have that mentality. It's like being told saturated fat's no good, and even though we intellectually know that's not true, there's still those moments where you're like, wait a minute, why am I telling myself this isn't good? It's just fine. And it's the same thing. We know intellectually, that's not the way to do it, but it's so hard to break the shackles of our past and just the way our mind was formed when we were younger. So I know what you mean, man. It's a constant battle, but I think understanding like why you think the way that you think makes it easier to step back and be a little more objective and be
that's really important. Understanding why you think a certain way.
Yeah.
It's hard to figure that out. Sometimes.
It can be,
you really don't know. It's really useful to have somebody point that shit out to you. You know, if you got a good friend, like you do that to me all the time. You're like, hey, dude, why are you thinking? Why are you doing this? Let's back up a minute. And like, it gets me thinking, like, okay, I don't know why I'm thinking that. And then I start picking it apart, and I'm like, all right, so is that wrong? Or you know what I mean? So it's hard to kind of figure out yourself sometimes. So it's always good if you got a buddy that can point out your bullshit for you.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. They're few and far between, so it's good to find some. So, well, cool, man. I got a couple other things here. We actually had a listener email in with a question. And being new at this whole podcast thing, we, for some reason, just replied to it via email and never talked about it and replied to it on the podcast. And so, being a podcast, man, we really, like we've mentioned a couple of times, we want to encourage you guys, if you have any questions for us about anything, really, email them in, and we'll do our best to respond to them via email, but we'll definitely get to them on the air and answer them emails. So, Derek from New York, sound like a freaking call-in radio show here. He was wondering, he said he's got a great academy that he trains at, great teachers and stuff, so he was looking for some supplemental reading material to kind of help him with his beginning his BJJ journeys. And I think he said he was 42, been doing jiu-jitsu for I think less than a year, and so he just kind of wants to know if we had any advice on books or anything in general, just kind of to help him with developing the right mindset for the journey at the beginning, because we talk about a lot, man. You get started on the wrong path, and
it's hard to
you get too far down it can be hard to correct. So starting out, for people with the right mindset is really important. So I had a couple books written down because I cheated and I actually wrote the questions.
You got a test you study for. I'm getting a pop quiz here, man. So,
I know.
What the fuck?
So I'm gonna
just send it again. Sorry, guys.
So we're gonna get better at this. So we'll make sure that we're up on the questions. I
kind of like the pop quiz.
Pop quiz is good.
My answers aren't going to be as good.
Okay,
but I kind of like the pop quiz.
Yeah. So I had a couple, and I'd actually emailed them back. I don't remember if these were all on there, but my first one, is the Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. And yes, Amelia, I am that much of a Musashi fanboy. One of the girls in jiu-jitsu was making fun of me last night for wearing a Musashi rash guard. But anyways, no, I think the Book of Five Rings is a good one. My only advice for people with it is that you're going to need to probably read through it 2 or 3 times before some of it really starts to sink in. But in my opinion, that book is like the best book ever written on the subject of training and just the mindset that it takes to master a martial art. And Musashi's obviously talking a lot about swords and from the samurai's perspective and using the long sword and the short sword. But he talks about a lot of times that these principles apply to everything, even unarmed combat, large scale combat. The principles are the same. And the principles, every word in that book has such power. It's such a short read for how powerful it is, and just the messages that it communicates. Man, I remember reading that thing the couple days leading up to Masters Worlds, and it was just, dude, it was such a fucking awesome headspace I was in. I remember that, dude. It was like between, the conversation with Rolly and getting my game plan and reading Musashi and just all these things that I was reading, like clicking. And I knew what was going to happen in that first match. I knew it. I slept like a baby the night before. I was so unnervous. It was weird. I remember I was making other people nervous. They were just like, "Are you all right?" I remember Keely telling me, like, I just feel like I just need to leave you alone. Like, you just seem like you're in a good space. I'm like, yeah, that's good. And it's one of those magical moments that you freaking train for. And then you go out, and I remember Kevin coming up to me in the bullpen and, trying to calm me down. And I'm like, man, I'm good, man. This thing's going to be over in like 30 seconds. And he looks at me, and I was like, I didn't say who's tapping. It may be me, but,
It's going to go fast.
It's going to go fast, man. I've seen it. I know it. I know what's going to happen. And, but anyways, I mean, that's kind of like off subject, but it was just, I feel like, man, I've read that book probably a dozen or more times, and it was really cool, like that, the headspace that put me in, just understanding the principles and stuff, and was really cool. But man, for me, I feel like that's a number one must read, and just knowing that's one you're probably going to have to come back to several times over the course of your martial arts career, because every time you read it, I guarantee you're going to learn something new. There's going to be a new passage, a new perspective that you have that you didn't have before, that's going to give you some deeper understanding of things. But my number one favorite martial arts mindset book, I mean, really training for anything mindset book would be that one. So
that's the number one.
That's my number one.
I can't argue that at all. I read it, just flat out read it.
He's the greatest martial artist of all time.
Yep.
I mean, you can't, again, like I know Amelia was making fun of me about being a fanboy, and I don't know if I'm necessarily a fanboy as much as I just have a lot of respect. Like when I study Musashi, I'm not studying it to like worship Musashi. I'm studying him because like I want to emulate what he accomplished, like from a mindset and physical standpoint, and just so studying him and trying to decipher, like, man, what can I take from his writings and what he did. I mean, if he's the best, I mean, if you want to be a martial artist and you want to model yourself after the best, it's hard to fucking argue that anyone did it better than that guy. I mean, 60 plus wins in an era of where you're running around with 3-foot long razor blades playing for keeps, and he won a lot of his fights with a wooden sword, man. And there's the dude, yeah. I mean, when you read his history, it's really amazing. I mean, he literally took out an entire sword school, like one of the most respected schools at the time. He single-handedly took them out, like killed the fucking clan. Defeated 2 of them in one-on-one combat, and then the clan set up an ambush for him on the 3rd one, and he showed up late to the first 2 to piss everybody off.
Oh, dude, that's one of the biggest things. Not biggest things, but that's cemented in my memory after reading that the first time, is he would do that just to mess with his opponents.
Yeah.
He would just show up just way
You don't
late.
know if he's coming or not.
And so your opponent's, like, his adrenaline's going up, it's going down, he's getting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
But then he turned it on the 3rd fight, and he showed up early, and they didn't expect it, and he was there before they showed up. But he literally, like, had a group. He fucking dispatched a group of guys who were trained swordsmen. I mean, I don't know, man. It's amazing. Like when you really think about it, then he gets to the point where he's like, after he killed Kojiri, I think was his name, like his most famous battle, and he realized, like, man, this is bullshit. Like, I'm killing people. I'm just trying to test my skill. I don't need to be killing people. And so then he totally changed his mindset, and he was like, I'm not going to kill anymore. And he would still have people challenge him, and he would just defend himself so well that they realized that he was fucking with them, and he could just kill them at any moment, and then they would submit to him. And it's, dude's busting in on him, and he grabbed fucking sticks from the firewood pile and did it.
He won a battle with an oar, didn't he?
No, that's his most famous one. The one against
again.
Kojiri may not be his name, and I'm sorry if I'm messing it up because it's been a while since I've read up on that specific part. But yeah, there was an island that they were fighting on, and on the way over there, he took an oar and he carved it out, and he carved it out to be like, an inch or 2 longer than Kojiri's sword, and Kojiri's sword was famously long. That was his claim to fame, was having this extra long sword. And so he knew that he relied on that distance, and so he carved a sword that was just a little bit longer. And yeah, legend has it, man, Kojiri actually cut his head piece or whatever it was. Like, he fucking clunked him in the head and killed him, and he actually like sliced his his little bandana that they would wear, and so that's how close it was. But anyways, man, yeah, amazing fucking dude. So there you go. I think he's anything about Musashi. That novel's really good. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. But the Book of Five Rings is great. So
cool. I would agree with that. And man, there's so many good books out there to read. And they don't even have to be jiu-jitsu specific.
Yeah.
And there's so many good that are, jiu-jitsu specific that are great. So I'll change gears a little bit. One that is jiu-jitsu specific is Borrowing the Master's Bicycle.
Ooh, I like that one.
That's a good book.
That was a good one.
It's been a while since I've read it, but if I remember right, it's kind of like a collection of essays, right?
Yeah,
it's like short lessons and reads. That's a good book.
It was. I liked it. It's been a while since I read it too. So like, if you pinned me down and said specifically blah blah blah, I'd be like, but I remember reading it and feeling like I got a lot from it. Yeah,
well, I remember. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I couldn't exactly, reiterate some lessons I learned from it right off the top of my head without rereading it. But I remember reading it and thinking it was such a good book. I bought it for a couple people and sent it to them.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's pretty cheap. Yeah. And I sent it to them through Kindle. I was like, dude, just read this book. Read that. And I can't remember who I did that for, if they ever read it.
It wasn't me, asshole.
It wasn't you.
I don't think we knew each other.
I don't even think we really knew each other.
No, not really, man.
That's how long ago I read that thing.
Yeah.
And then another one that I found really beneficial, I read it at the beginning of last year, was the Josh Waitzkin book, The Art of Learning.
Ooh, that's such a good one.
That's a good one.
Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot that one.
That's a really good one.
Such a good one, yeah.
So if I had to narrow it down, I would say I would never want to pick my favorite book.
Right, I know.
But those are two really good ones.
Those are two really good ones. Yeah, that Art of Learning, man. I'm glad you brought that one up. I had a couple more, like, I won't get nearly into them like you did the Book of Five Rings. One that was recommended to me was called When Buddhists Attack, which is a really interesting study on Buddhism. Supposed to be this, religion. Like, really, it's not even a religion if you really know the history of it. But anyways, we'll call it a religion. It's a religion, an ideology based on peace, based on, almost like, I don't want to say submission, but, just not, being submissive in some ways. Like, not getting worked up over things that aren't worth getting worked up over. And so how did it become the kind of the mindset and ideology that's most associated with martial arts? Like, people that, like the samurai, for example, they fucking kill people. And like, how do you balance the fact that we're like, to quote Mr. Miyagi, we learn to fight so we don't have to fight. You know what I mean? And that's a tough thing. And I think going into it, it's really important for people, because as you get into this, you start to realize, like, man, you're being given a loaded gun in some ways. Like, when you learn jiu-jitsu, especially as you advance, I mean, you get to the point where, you're a higher level blue belt, a purple belt, and especially a black belt, like, you're going to be able to handle the vast majority of people that you come across, especially that aren't trained in any way to fight. And so for some people, it can fuck with their ego, and so, or they come into it with an inflated ego. Like, they get into martial arts and fighting as a way to prove themselves. And so, we've talked about this a lot. Like, jiu-jitsu has a way of scrubbing those people out. But yeah, I thought that book it does a really good job. It's a really interesting look at the history of Buddhism and how it evolved and started to become associated with the martial arts, and how martial artists that are basically trained to hurt and kill people balance, these two supposedly opposing ideologies in their head. So anyways, I thought that one was pretty good. Psych was another one that's just kind of it's Judd Basiotti is the guy that wrote it, and it's just a good look at, like, sports psychology overall, because again, like, most people aren't even aware of, like, external versus internal locus of control and all these things, like, how you're looking at it and where your stress is coming from, and so just being aware of how the human mind works, and things you can do to kind of make it perform the way that you want to, I think is good. And then I had another one here, 10-Minute Toughness, that it's an older book, but it basically talks about how to build like a 10-minute mental routine to put yourself in that mindset to perform. So for people that compete, just kind of having the importance of a mental routine to help them get in the state of mind to perform properly, I think is really important. So I thought that book did a pretty good job of that. But so anyways, there you go. There's my 4.
So who asked the question? Derek?
Derek, yeah.
There you go, Derek.
There you go, Derek.
Hope that helps you out, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So some books for reading the new year. So cool. And then last thing I got here, man. How's the New Year's goals going? You eating any candy yet?
No, that's an easy one. Dude.
That's an easy one.
Crush that one. I've been really good. The past since today's only the 5th.
Yeah,
I think today's the 5th. Yes. Nutrition's been good. No candy. That, like I say, candy's pretty easy. Have you picked I see you looking at your goals. Have you picked a date for your fast yet? Your 24-hour fast you're going to do?
I haven't, but I have to.
Yeah, you committed to it.
I did, man. I did. No, by Monday, I have an accountability partner that for my my business. Him and I check in each Monday and just do like, hey, this is what we're going to get done. And so I told him that either I would have fasted or I will have a date picked and like everything ready. So by Monday, I have to have it picked and ready to go. So I'm going to shoot for sometime next week. Is my goal. I just need to figure out the timing of it.
The timing. That's important for success in that little challenge. Timing's very important.
Yeah.
You got to kind of look at your week, see what your training schedule is going to be like, your work schedule, whatever prior commitments you have. If your wife planned a dinner date with a friend of yours, social gather. You don't want to. So there's things you got to plan for because you don't want to be the asshole that somebody invites you over for dinner and be like, yeah, okay, I'll come over, but I'm fasting.
I'm being flexible.
Yeah, so you gotta. There's a fair amount of planning that has to go into it.
Yeah, I'm trying to I was thinking I'd do it today, but man, Thursdays are hard training because I get up. My chiropractor buddy comes over and we work out. So I strength train in the morning and do noon class, and I go and do evening class, and that's 3 freaking training sessions. Like Fridays, I'm smashed. Like I don't know that not eating on Friday after that much training is necessarily. I don't know.
I would agree. It's probably not a good idea. But kind of off subject.
No.
This is a selfish request because Thursdays were my hard training days for a while too because that was my work schedule.
Yeah.
I had Thursdays off, so I would kind of do the same thing. Like I would do some sort of deal in the morning and then noon class and evening class.
Yeah.
So we got to train together. And now I have Fridays off. You got to change your fucking hard day to Fridays, man. So you got to change the Fridays for me.
I will.
You got to see if you can rework your schedule.
I'll rework it. I'll let. Yeah, Kiele's got. She's I guess I don't know. Yeah, she likes noon class on Thursday. Laura goes in on Thursdays at noon. So her sometimes. So they train together. So maybe I'll just. My problem. I'm always like, well, you can go in, but I'm like, oh, she's getting one on me. Like, my wife's getting close, dude. She almost fucking toe-folded me the other day.
Did she?
Like, I'm getting to the point where I got to get a little nasty with her to get out of her freaking footlocks. It's like, God damn it. So I can't let her get more training than me. So anyways, no, I hear you, man. Yeah, I need to. I was thinking about that the other day, actually, because, we were training on Thursdays. And
I had that schedule for quite a while, man. Since, February of last year.
Yeah.
I had Thursdays off, so it was pretty regular. I was teaching noon class.
Yeah.
So we got quite a few regular people showing up at noon on Thursdays. And it just kind of, I think, I'm not saying I'm the catalyst behind it all, but I think it kind of got the ball in that direction.
Yeah, for sure.
It just kind of became a regular thing.
Yeah.
And then so it kind of evolved into your life. Like, okay, Thursdays I'm doing noon and evening, so this work, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just kind of, all the dominoes just kind of fell.
Yeah,
and now my schedule changed to Fridays, man, so you guys need to change your shit.
Yeah, I need to come in. I would just get doing Friday open mats, Yeah, I'll have to sit down and look at my schedule. You're right. So
gotta change it for me, James.
I will, man. I will. Nah, dude. I love training with you, bro.
All right.
There's no one else.
That's a selfish request.
No, dude, you're one of my better training partners. It's helping me. So yeah, no, that's going. I actually looked up playing the guitar on YouTube the other day.
Have you got on there and started strumming it yet?
I strummed it a little bit. I strummed it. I looked up how to play Happy Birthday because that's my wife's request that I learn how to play Happy Birthday by her birthday. Which is luckily several months away. And I think that my lesson from that is that I need to take a lesson.
I was just going to say that. I was like, dude, Take a lesson.
I feel like it's just like we were talking about. Like, I feel like I'm going to get started down the wrong path. And then I feel like if I start taking some lessons and someone just gets me started on the right path, and once I kind of have some basic ideas, I can start doing a little, branching out. But yeah, I'm going to have to look up.
You're going to have to take a lesson.
Yeah.
That is you can't underestimate the task of learning that guitar. Like, that's a big deal. That is just like...
I can kick ass on Guitar Hero, bro. What are you talking about?
That is just like someone being like, hey, I'm going to start doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I'm not going to sign up to go to a class. I'm going to learn.
I know.
I'm going to learn all my shit on YouTube. I'm going to learn it all on YouTube.
I know.
And I'm going to dominate my neighborhood.
Just not dominate my neighborhood.
It's not going to pan out for you,
I'm
man.
going to dominate my neighborhood and guitar playing,
That's
bro.
right. That's right. So...
Well, no, that's going to be the fastest way. I'm sure if I just had nothing else to do, I could figure it out. But I got a lot else to do, so I need the fastest, most efficient path.
Take a lesson, man.
I'm going to take a lesson or two. So, yeah, that's my thing. But, the breathing, man. I did want to tell you, the breathing's been going good.
Has it?
Yeah. I've been, Kevin was fucking with me the other day. That was so funny.
I couldn't take him serious. He was doing that shit.
Breathing.
Dude, he was doing that shit to me. And I honestly, like, he was kicking my ass, doing the stupid breathing, and I was laughing. Like, I could not take him serious. I'm like, dude, knock it off, man. Like, I can't do jiu-jitsu when you're doing this. Dude. And he's like, I'm just breathing. I'm like, no, I sense it. Your motivation behind this is complete sarcasm, and you're killing me right now. Dude, he totally fucked with me. Like, I was laughing, man. Like, I was like, dude, knock it off, man. Just not, and I couldn't help it, man. It was pretty funny.
It was pretty funny, but yeah, he was, but yeah, he did it to me.
It wasn't messing with you as bad as it was messing with me. Like, I was straight up laughing. Like,
I was too, but like, I realized, like, man. Anyway, I don't want to dissect my psychological world with Kevin too much because I know he listens to these things and I got to keep a few secrets.
That's why, dude. On that note, that is why he listens to these.
Oh, I know.
He picks up shit and he just
ammunition,
and he just screws with us, dude, on a regular basis.
Oh, I know.
We need to like block him from listening to these things somehow. We need to like report him on all podcasts.
Somehow we need to figure out how to have like a fake podcast published just for him.
Yeah,
that we're just.
Give him false information.
All sorts of false information.
That way we can get a one up on him. Yeah.
Oh, man. But anyways, man, yeah. No, I knew, dude, when he was doing his Darth Vader breathing, and it was starting to irritate me. I was like, God damn it, what am I going to do? Like, I can't let it irritate me because he's like a goddamn shark that smells blood in the water.
Yeah, you're toast, dude.
And so I was like, how can I flip this around? And then I was like, well, he's reminding me to breathe because I'm like, okay. I'll start breathing loud too, and I'll listen to, and I was like, all right, well, I'll use his breathing to remind me to breathe, but you gotta learn how to flip anything.
Dude, I was thinking, man, like, driving down the road the other day at work, I started thinking about this situation, and I just started cracking up laughing. I'm like, he's such a dickhead. I love the guy, man.
Oh, I know.
But I've thought about this too, like, I've said our jiu-jitsu school, it's my family, man. It really is. And I see Kevin as my alcoholic, abusive uncle that loves me, but just mentally and physically abuses me on a regular basis. And that's really how I see it, man.
Oh, dude. Man. And just for the record, though, he's not an alcoholic.
He's not an alcoholic. He may be a bit mentally and emotionally abusive.
No, yeah, well. Only to the people he likes.
Yeah, only to us.
That's how you know how he likes you.
To all new students, you'll be fine.
Yeah, no. He's really nice to new people.
Yeah, if you start getting mentally abused by Kevin, then you know that he likes you.
Yeah, that's a sign.
That's a sign.
For sure. So, anyways, yeah, but besides that, no, man, it's actually, I feel I've been focusing a lot doing my mobility and strength training stuff, and but rolling, I'll say, like, I've noticed a difference. Like, I catch myself and I'll start doing the in through the nose and out through the mouth, and really I'll watch, like, because you were talking, like, you get in the scrambles and you hold your breath, and so I'm noticing, there'll be those moments, like, especially like, with Kevin when he's passing your guard and you're fighting and you know that it's coming, man. You're like, yeah, exactly. And then he's like, and then you're breathing hard and doing stupid shit. And I'm catching myself earlier to, like, they're like, oh, know when you're past and just set up your frames. And I'm looking at, like, know when you're past, set up your breathing, now set up your frames. And hopefully I get to the point where my breathing isn't even getting out of whack, but I'm catching myself earlier in some of the stuff, and so I am noticing it, man. It's definitely like I feel like it's helped my cardio. Like I've gotten to the end of rounds where I feel like usually I would have been like really fucking pumped that the buzzer rang, and I'm like, I can probably keep going if I need to. So
that's good.
There's something to it, man. There's something to it. So it's really crazy, man. Even doing my mobility, just noticing how much I would tend to hold my breath, just in little transitions. I'd finish doing a stretch, and then I go to move to the next position, and I just hold my breath just for, okay, and then I start breathing again. And all those little tiny breath holds, man, they compound. They compound.
And then they really become a habit.
Yeah.
I found a hack for that, because since you brought it up, I've tried to be more mindful of it. And usually when I do my mobility routine, I kind of do a certain amount of reps in each position. And I am not smart enough to really focus on my breathing and count reps at the same time.
Right.
I've tried, dude. It just does not. It does not drive out. I just couldn't do it. So is what I started doing is I just get a timer on my phone, and it's just like an interval timer.
Yeah.
Like for 30 seconds or 20 seconds, and let it just cycle, and then so I just do that certain mobility stretch for that 20 seconds or that 30 seconds, and then I switch. So I don't have to be mindful of my reps.
Right.
I can only think about my breathing and my movement.
Yeah.
And then when the little timer goes off, it's time to switch to the next movement. And I'm still only thinking about my movement, my breathing.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about reps. So that was a kind of a good little cheat for me. To be more mindful of it.
Yeah.
Because I really tried. I was like, okay, this will be easy. And I started doing that. I'm like, God, I felt like a retard trying to do it. I was like, man, is this normal? Does everybody have this much?
No, I do the same thing. Like I'll count. I do a little different. I'll count breaths. And so, I've been, for a while, I've been having clients I'm like, dude, count your breaths while you're doing your stretching mobility work, because,
it's easier to
it's like that's what you're supposed to be focused on anyways, and it's hard to count. So I would just figure out how many reps I'm getting per breath and just kind of do the math. And
I did that. That's not a bad way to do it.
Both are good.
The reason I use the timer is because, a lot of times if I'm working out in the morning before I go to work, I'll have it structured like, hey, man, I'm jumping on the air dyne for 10 minutes. I'm doing mobility for 10 minutes. Then I got 20 minutes for strength. Yep. And so I got to be regimented. Yeah. And if I just start counting my breaths, I lose track of time, and I'm looking at the clock.
I know.
So I had to narrow it down.
That's like foam rolling. All of a sudden you've been on the foam roller for half an hour, and you're like, God damn, I'm supposed to be here for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean. So no, both are good. But I think the take-home message is that it's hard to count, keep count of a number and focus on your breathing at the same time. So finding other ways to track that so that you can focus more on your breathing, I think, is important. But but overall, man, I think the goals are going good.
So. Well, I'll keep going with that a little bit. So my goal, one of my goals is, reading.
Yeah.
All my reading list we put out there. So I finished the Rise of Superman by Stephen Collar.
Yeah.
That was my January book.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good book. If anybody wants to read that, it's all about the flow state. And he talks a lot about action and adventure athletes, like big wave surfers and, big mountain skiers and these squirrel suit nut jobs and all this. But,
right, yeah.
And so he talks about all this and how they get into the flow state. But then he brought it back to how a normal person like you or I would get into that flow state. And it really, this would be the really dumbed down version of it, is more, you got to get yourself into that flow state. You just got to get just barely out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I think he kind of threw out the percentage like a 4%, and I'm not sure how you're measuring that, but just out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because if you're too comfortable, it doesn't occupy enough of your brain. You're not going to you're going to be distracted. You're in there wrestling with somebody, and you're thinking about what you're going to have for lunch.
Yeah.
If you're not
too far inside your comfort zone.
Yeah, you're too far inside your comfort zone. You're not really having to focus on the task.
Right.
You're thinking about what you're doing after class.
Yeah.
But if someone that challenges you just enough, you can really get into that cool space.
Yeah.
And the same thing with creativity. You're doing something just uncomfortable enough, creative enough you're going to put out there to the world. You're worried about judgment. You're worried about criticism. Those kind of things will help you get into that flow state too. So it was a cool little read.
Yeah. Well, it's similar. I mean, I don't know if you notice correlation between a lot of stuff that we've been talking about, fitness training, and even with the jiu-jitsu. You're not learning when you're at 100%. when it's that pushing yourself out of your comfort zone just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
So like strength training, it's like, if you expand your comfort zone, your 100% will go up too. Like you want to be just a little outside of your comfort zone, not always hammering up against your limits. And like that's where people learn and, do their best work. And if you're not being challenged and it's just too easy, then you're just not engaged. So it's a fine line, but again, you find that message over and over and over, and whether it's finding the flow state for being creative or doing jiu-jitsu or trying to improve your health and fitness. Same thing with like diet, right? Listening to this, a lot of people are starting New Year's resolution stuff, and we got a podcast planned for people either starting jiu-jitsu or kind of getting back into it after a layoff during the new year. And man, one of the big mistakes that people make with their nutrition is they don't push just barely outside their comfort zone. They feel like they've got to go to 100%. They go from like eating like shit and having no structure at all to trying to eat pure paleo and follow intermittent fasting. And for the vast majority of people, that is so far outside their comfort zone. That's like their limit. So maybe they can do that for a week or two, but it's just unsustainable.
Not sustainable.
Right. When you're at your limit, it's unsustainable. And so that's where just being honest with yourself about, okay, where am I at? Like what habit can I implement that will push my comfort zone a little bit, but I'm relatively sure I can accomplish. And then once I've accomplished that, then I build that next habit. And I think habit stacking is kind of the term for it these days. But, really that's how you improve, is that habit stacking. And really with the flow state too, I can speak to it from mountain biking, right? Like I got to the point we've talked about before where, looking back on some of the shit that I used to ride, I'm like, what was I thinking? Real physical danger. I saw 2 people get paralyzed from riding stuff that I was riding. And but man, that flow state, and you talked about like you used to ski, kind of same thing, but you don't start out hitting 40-foot doubles. You start out just riding down the trail, and that's the edge of your comfort zone. And then you start hitting a little drop, and then a jump, and there's this progression, and it's like you're just pushing that comfort zone. So by the time you're hitting those 40-foot jumps and those big drops and stuff, they are at the edge or within your comfort zone. So that's where that flow state comes in, like how you can hit those things and you're not just freaking the fuck out and like, whereas like the outside spectators looking at it and they're like, you're crazy. It's like, no, the dude who's doing it doesn't feel like it's crazy. It's like, no, I've done this 100 times. I've done it. Yeah, this is well within my comfort zone. So it's like old boy, the free climber.
Alex
Honnold. Yeah. They're talking about like, that special of him where he's, free climbing in Yosemite, El Cap, and it's like his ability to focus on the 3 feet in front of him and nothing else is what separates him from everyone else. And he talks about like, I don't feel like this is crazy. Like this is well within my comfort zone. Like I know what I'm doing. I've done this. And so, but he didn't start out doing that. There was a progression. So, but anyways, yeah, that push in your comfort zone, it's hard because it's not as sexy as like the 300 rep challenge fucking workout, or you know what I mean? It's like everybody likes to just push those limits and hit that wall. And no pain, no gain, dude, going back to fucking Joe Weider and his message. So, but yeah, no, I think it's good.
It's a good book.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to check it out. And on that same vein, so then I jumped right in and started reading Principles.
Oh, cool.
Ray Dalio.
Yeah.
I moved because that was later in my reading list, but just from your suggestion, I was like, well, I'm ahead of the game. Let's read that, So I put that in. And that's good. Damn, that's like a 500-page book. So
it's a big book, man. Yeah,
so I've been digging into it already, so I'm already liking it. But I'm only,
it's really good.
30 pages in or something.
Yeah, the way he structured it with like kind of telling his story through the prism of like the principles, and then he actually gets into like what his principles are.
That's where I'm at right now. Is just his story.
Yeah.
I just got to the part where he's starting Bridgewater.
Yeah.
And Edgewater, Bridgewater.
Yeah. So. That's a good book, man. I like it because he admits, here's my mistakes and here's what I learned from him, and his whole idea of an idea meritocracy. Like I never really had a word for it before, but the idea is like it's not who's right or wrong. It's like what's the best idea. Like that's the idea of discussing things, and that's why, like when I discuss things with someone, and I've realized I've had this happen on several occasions where I'm just having a discussion with someone and they're getting fucking pissed. And I realized, like, after reading that book, like, oh, see, I believe in an idea of meritocracy. I'm just trying to discuss ideas. Like, I'm not taking this personally. I don't think you're attacking me because you don't agree with my idea or whatever it is. I'm just trying to flesh out, like, why do you think the way that you think? And here's why I think the way I think. And which way is the better way of thinking? And what's the best idea and way of looking at this? And other people are approaching it from, like, they want to be right.
But I think what you're talking about, that is a really valuable skill in itself. And that's something you have to practice.
You do.
You really do. And because you have to be okay with your ideas maybe not being the best.
Yeah.
Or if you really feel it is the best, have those discussions. Listen, truly listen to where the other person's coming from. And then you might agree with it. You may change your mind.
Yeah.
Or you might be like, all right, man, I see where you're coming from, but this is where I'm thinking. And you can't get up. Man, and again, I just talked about having a good friend that can kind of call you out on your bullshit, but having somebody like that you can talk to on a regular basis and have those little ideas, brainstorming sessions, dude, that's super important.
It is.
And that's a skill. Like, I'm not great at it yet. I still, because you do it, like, you kind of...
You want to defend your idea.
Yeah, you want to defend your idea. You feel like if your idea isn't the best one, or maybe you're not really good at expressing it, you feel like not attacked, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
your ego attaches some personal.
Your ego maybe feels attacked. You know? So I mean, that's a good skill to.
It is, man. But that idea of the idea of meritocracy, and I think that's what's cool with jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu, on some level, is the ultimate idea of meritocracy. It's like, you may not like my idea, but we're gonna find out on the mat what works. I mean, I think like the fucking rise of Eddie Bravo and EBI and all that. Like, I got into jiu-jitsu when Eddie was still mainly the butt of jokes. It was like, 10th Planet, and he's making up his own names, and blah blah blah, and people just had their. He wasn't like it still wasn't like taken super seriously. And man, within 5 years, through the EBIs and other grappling competitions, like. No, like people see like, wow, this stuff works. Like, it's the ultimate idea of meritocracy. And now his whole position and the way that people look at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu has completely changed within the 5 years that I've been doing Jiu-Jitsu. And it's all because it's the ultimate idea of meritocracy. You may not like it, but we're going to find out what works on the mat. And if my idea works and I keep tapping you out with it, you can't ignore it. Can't ignore it, man.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. It's genius what he's doing with EBI. It is just like what the Gracies did with the UFC.
Yeah.
They created the UFC so they could prove that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was the best martial art for straight up combat.
Yep.
And they did that. That was a huge success. But going into it, no one knew what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. You had all these freaking kung fu.
That literally was why they did it.
That is why they did it. If you look at the history of it, that is. We won't go into it.
Yeah, they were trying to get like super fight. They were challenging people, and no one would take their challenges. So they realized that the only way we're going to do this is to. And again, what's funny too when you really dig into it, like UFC was not new. They just brought Valle Tudo to the US.
Yeah, they were doing it.
They were doing shit down there forever.
They had the challenge matches forever.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing Eddie Bravo was doing. He's like, hey man, I have a really good system of jiu-jitsu, and there's not a lot of venues for me to show it because a lot of tournaments have rules against a lot of reaping and heel hooks and stuff. He's like, let's put it to the test. And that's what he did, and that's what that is, and that's really
get rid of the points.
Yep, no points, submission only.
Just jobbing the rules.
I love the no judge's decision at the end.
Yeah,
man. His overtime rules.
Yep,
that is money.
Yep.
For me, I think that is money, dude.
Yeah, no, man, it's definitely exciting. But what's funny is that wasn't even his original idea. Like, the combat jiu-jitsu is what he wanted to do. But it took him longer because they're slapping each other, so it's they have to get like boxing, MMA level like refs and whatever sign off on it. Different commissions involved, and so the EBI was basically what he created to kind of fill in the gap until he could get the combat jiu-jitsu going, and then turned out to be this like, I mean, in my opinion, I think the combat jiu-jitsu is cool, but. man, the EBI is
I like the EBI. I just like the straight grappling matches.
It has, man. It's changed the face of fucking grappling in some ways. But anyways, it just goes back to that idea of meritocracy and like, you know, understanding that like it's not about being right or wrong. It's like who has the best idea. And you know, I think that was like one of the core things. There was a lot of things I took from that book. That's also where I got like the 5 steps for, you know, set a goal, figure out what the problems are going to be, find potential solutions, select a solution, execute, and people get all fucked up when they skip those steps. So like I got that from that book too. There's a lot of good shit out of there, man.
Cool.
So oh yeah, man.
And then the last thing I wanted to bring up before we got into today's topic is you know, I told you I've been doing Turkish get-ups daily.
Yeah.
20 of them every day. Dude, sandbag Turkish get-ups are the shit.
They are?
Dude, they're awesome. I've been doing, like, I've been doing those way more than any other, you know, Turkish get-up. And man, if you're not doing Turkish get-ups with a sandbag on a semi-regular basis, you need to make some better life choices, man. Like,
yeah.
Dude, I think it's an
especially
awesome
if you're
exercise.
a grappler,
if you're
man.
a grappler, dude, it is such an awesome exercise.
Yeah.
I've really been digging them. But anyways.
No, I agree, man. I'm glad you've been getting into them because they're such a good exercise for grapplers and for a lot of different reasons. But cool.
Anyways,
yeah.
I just wanted to bring it up. I was excited about it. I was doing them again this morning.
Yeah,
let's talk about this.
Yeah, no, they're good. they're good, man. So, all right. So lessons, man. Lessons from 2017. That's what we're going to talk about, the subject for today's podcast. And as usual, Rob and I have had zero communication about this between picking the topic and now. And so we're going to see what the other one came up. I kind of broke mine down into 3 categories. I did BJJ, fitness, health, and then life lessons. And so, I don't know, how'd you approach yours?
Kind of similar. I really just I took it as like 2 main lessons I learned. And within each one of those lessons, I had like a life lesson and then like a BJJ lesson.
Yeah.
And so, similar, just a little different approach.
Different. So, yeah, man. Well, right on. You want to kick things off?
Why don't you go first?
I'll go first? Okay.
You go first.
All right, so my BJJ lessons are... man, my first one, I've talked about this a lot, just the Masters Worlds, coming back from there and realizing that competition is not about going out there and slapping hands and playing jiu-jitsu. It's a game of positions. It's about executing your game plan. And that for me was a big mindset shift for competition, just kind of jiu-jitsu in general. And again, going back to Musashi and the Book of 5 Rings, when I was reading that and thinking about all this, and Musashi just kept talking about, you know, combat is not a game to see who's faster and stronger. You're there to strike your opponent down as quickly as possible. Like, don't fuck around. Like, you're not trying to prove anything besides the fact that you can win. And so yeah. And then if you go out there and you're trying to execute your game and you get beat, then all right, that's fine. But so that was a big kind of jiu-jitsu lesson for me. And then just, you know, from that, just starting to figure out, well, what are those positions that I'm good at and how do I get better at them, and starting to work on those more, just kind of help clarify some of my game. But for me, that was a big jiu-jitsu lesson. So, yeah, man. I don't know.
So we give and taking, or you?
I don't know. You got any thoughts on that?
No, man. I think it's good.
Yeah.
There's no sense for me to try to
belabor it.
Overcomplicate something that was very simple and straightforward.
Cool. All right.
Yep.
Another lesson I learned this year or last year was, man, really the power of simplifying things, stripping things down. Just, I mean, I've joked about it before. Like, to me, when I feel like my jiu-jitsu's flowing, it's ankles and wrists. You know, I'm either like grabbing an ankle and going for a leg lock, or I'm grabbing a wrist and going for a Kimura trap. Obviously, there's a lot of other things going on, but just really simplifying and understanding, like, okay, man, jiu-jitsu needs to be simple and stripped down instead of like adding all these layers to it. But we've talked about it. You have to add the layers to be able to strip them down and know what's going to work for you. So, but yeah, for me, that was kind of another big aha moment this year, was just seeing things simple, man. Seeing things simple. I think having Pimenta come here and just hammer that shit into our heads so many times too. He's just
even if he wasn't intentionally hammering that, just like you will ask him a question that you feel is so complicated or deserves such a complicated answer, and he answers it in like 3 words.
Yeah,
three words and a little demonstration of a move.
Control the hips.
And and you're just like,
yeah.
Okay. I guess that's all I need.
Yeah. No, I remember we were talking one time, I forget what it was, and he was just all like, hips and shoulders. Control the hips and shoulders. It's like, wherever you're at, like just like that's what it all boils down to. And that's, again, I was like, these big aha moments for me, like, it is. It's just hips and shoulders, I'm trying to control hips and shoulders. If I can't control a hip, control a knee. If I can't control a knee, control an ankle. Same thing with the shoulder. If I can't control a shoulder, control an elbow, or control a wrist. Like a wrist is just a form of controlling the shoulders. And so like understanding like you're just controlling the hips and shoulders. How are you controlling the hips and shoulders? And if you're not controlling anything, you have to have control of something to start doing something. So again, like just when I'm in a bad defensive position now and realizing like, man, I have nothing. I have control of nothing right now. I've got to get something, even if it's like a hand in an armpit, so I can start having some lift on the shoulder. Like I have to something. So, but just seeing, like I said, like having him come and clean my jiu-jitsu glasses a few times over the last couple of years, it just made things, seem a little simpler. So, but yeah, I think that was a big lesson for me this year. Kind of seeing things a little simpler there. So, strip things down. Don't ignore injuries. That was, goddamn.
That's an ongoing lesson for me, man.
Yeah, I know. I know you're currently going through one right now, man.
Dude, it's tough for me, man. I'll find myself, like I tried to train, what was it, I don't know, Monday night or something, right? Yeah, because Monday was a holiday. I came in and I couldn't train hard, and I probably shouldn't have been. I tried, I got a couple rounds in, and I was like, all right, man, I have to stop. And my ankle's feeling better today. I'm going to try and train again tonight, and we'll see. I think I can push it a little bit harder tonight. But, dude, it's so tough, man, because you want to train.
I know.
Dude, it's...
I know.
It's so frustrating.
Well, I had that groin thing. Like I literally was suffering with this groin injury on one level or another almost all year last year. Like I remember, dude, it was a couple months before Masters Worlds when I really started to feel it. And so, I was, the bulk of the year. And I just kept trying to train through it and ignore it. And, man, eventually I had to take almost a month off to get it to heal. So, it's a tough lesson, man. Because you get away every once in a while, you get away with it. You can ignore an injury and you're all right. But,
most of the time that doesn't happen.
Luckily, like Kiele learned her lesson from me. Like her neck started hurting her, and she saw what I went through with my groin injury.
She's just smarter than we are.
Yeah. And so she's like, I'm going to take some time off before that happens to me. And it's like, okay, well, I'm glad you're,
One more meatheadish.
I know, yeah. So, but it was good because the time off, I think the reason that I was so afraid to take the time off is because, again, you're afraid that your jiu-jitsu is going to suffer. You're going to come back and you're just going to forget how to do jiu-jitsu. And seeing that not only did that not happen, but through wise use of my time, I was actually able to come back better in some ways. Like physically I felt better because I had a lot of rest and I wasn't rolling hurt. And I'd spent the time mentally working my jiu-jitsu as well. And so, I was able to see and apply some new things that I wasn't, before. So seeing that the time off wasn't this devastating, didn't have this devastating impact on my jiu-jitsu, hopefully will give me confidence to make smarter decisions about taking time off in the future. But, that was one because that sucked,
most of the time, most injuries, you can still drill certain things.
You can figure something out.
You can still drill moves. You tell your partner, hey, this is hurt, so I can't get into this position for you.
Yeah, this is where being selfish comes in. You got to be selfish.
You got to tell them, like, hey, man, I want to drill. This is what I want to drill, and this is what's hurt. So you can drill on me, but as long as you don't do this to this such and such limb, make me get into this. And everybody's pretty cool about that.
Yeah.
And if someone's wanting to really drill something that day that you can't do due to that injury, then just don't do it.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. Or if the class is drilling something you can't do, then just
don't do it, man.
Just don't do it.
You can watch.
Yeah,
take
watch.
some notes. And
so, you learn a lot from watching. Yeah. So, there's always something you can do. But, that was an important
That's a good
one.
lesson.
All right, 2 more here for my BJJ lessons. This one was just closing out the year, so I don't know if it was just top of mind, but the power of the lapel. Like, that was, man, that fucking lapel guard seminar was just another one of those moments where I was just like, oh, there's this whole other world going on here with the lapel and just knowing how to use it effectively. And yeah, man, I feel like when you have the lapel guard going, it's like you're playing 3-dimensional chess and other people are playing checkers. It's like they don't know. They're like, what the fuck is going on? What do you have me tied up with? Where am I going? And they're like heading down the tunnel that you want, and they don't even know they're heading down that way. And yeah, it's and I feel like it's, to me, like, I like no gi because you don't have the gi and people can't use the gi against you, right? Like if they can't like use it to hold you down in side control and all these things. And so but then when you got the gi on, they can use it against you. And so I just looked at it like, well, fuck it, like if we're gonna play lapel, let's use the gi. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, my opponent's gonna use it against me. Like, he's definitely gonna grab it and use it against me, and so, like, well, why am I trying to set these arbitrary ideas about what's fair and not fair? You know, it's like, no, I'm going to annoy the shit out of you with that lapel. And yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot of like combat applications, but for sport jiu-jitsu. But hey, man, yeah, if I'm going to have a gi on so you can use it against me, then that means that we're simulating what would happen if we're like, you know, fucking 2 Eskimos fighting in big heavy coats. I'm going to use your lapel. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the best example, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, but for sport jiu-jitsu or just, you know, jiu-jitsu, it's good. But I think too, like, the fact that I'm using it as kind of an extension of principles, like, because that's why I think it clicked. Like, I saw how it fit into the principles that I already understood about jiu-jitsu, and all of a sudden, so I'm not learning something new. I'm just learning how to just apply the same principles a little bit differently. I think there's a big difference between that and people who just like learn worm guard without understanding the principles, and they become like I don't know how to explain it.
They become like just dogmatic to the grip and wrapping it here.
Yeah, and they don't know how it flows with other things and how to like that. Yeah, so yeah, I think that it's like leg locks, right? Like, leg locks are one of those things, like, you can definitely start to develop bad habits by going for them too much and using them too much and not developing your overall game. So I think it's like, you know, anything can be like that. So I think like the lapel guard can definitely have that downfall. It's kind of like the old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Like, I feel like, you know, the student was ready and Lance appeared and did that seminar, and it was like, okay.
You know what's crazy is we do a lot of collar chokes or grabs, but we never just slid further down the lapel.
I just grabbed that.
I grabbed the tail of it.
Yeah.
You know. I
mean, Kevin will do it to us, but we never really like.
It's not like a lot of things. It's nothing we really focused on or taught. You know, there's certain things we've done with it. You know, like there's a few attacks I'll do from the back where I'll use my lapel. Yeah. I use the tail of my lapel, like up around the neck, and under the arm, like. Or like there's the Toledo choke that I do all the time from, you know, top side control. Yeah. I use the tail there, you know. Or no, that's my tail. And that's my tail. Yeah. You know, so you think you're not using their tail a lot. Baseball bat choke from Neon Belly.
Yeah.
But still, and for some reason, I don't know why.
Yeah.
It never really went down that rabbit hole. But.
Yeah, man. Just grab that thing and treat it like another limb. Doing spider guard, leg lasso. And then you can start feeding it into the worm guard and stuff.
Squid guard.
I haven't gotten into the squid guard yet. So, anyways. But, yeah, man. No, it's... Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of like my puka guard. Remember that little fucking thing?
I still don't know if that's legal or not.
No one's told me it's not.
You got away with it.
I choked a dude out in a tournament, man, with it. So
at the fight to win, you got away with it. I don't know if you do that BJJJ. Try that at Masters Worlds next year. We'll see what transpires.
Man. That was funny. I remember I literally did it to see. Am I going to get disqualified?
I remember you looking at me.
You did.
When I was coaching, you were starting to do it. You looked at me. I'm like, sure. I don't know if it's legal or not. We'll find out in about 10 seconds.
Hey, you know. So, anyways. All right, man. And then the last thing is kind of, you know, it goes back to, I don't know, a lot of things I learned this year. When I explain to people, I call it like the 2 swords, using the 2 swords in jiu-jitsu. Because, again, going back to Musashi and what made him famous was his 2-sword style. Like, everybody remembers the samurai. You had your katana, the big, you know, long one, but they also had a short sword. In fact, the 2 swords is what separated the samurai. The samurai were the only ones who were allowed to carry the 2 swords. And he was famous because he used both of them at the same time. He would, instead of using the short sword after he'd lost the long sword or whatever. And it was blasphemous at the time. And, you know, even in his own time, he was like, people thought he was crazy for doing that, even though he was so successful with it. And so, I don't know, there was this moment this year, again around the Masters Worlds, where I realized, like, you know, leg locks and upper body attacks are your 2 swords. And it's knowing how to use those 2 swords effectively that really help you develop a good jiu-jitsu game. So you don't want to just become really reliant on one sword or the other. So it's not just upper body and I'm just going to ignore leg attacks, or I'm going to become really good with the legs and ignore the upper body. It's learning how to use legs to set up your passing to set up your leg attacks. You know, using those 2 swords effectively to, you know, like even if you don't like leg attacks, knowing how to threaten a leg attack to open up a pass so you can get what you want, or vice versa. Like I'll do the opposite. I threaten passes to get people to defend, to open up leg attacks. And then some people are good with defending legs, so you got to pop up and pass. I don't know. Use them both. It's not one or the other. It's being able to use them both. And again, man, going back to those EBIs, I mean, like the Dawn of Her Death Squad's, you know, famous for leg attacks, but, you know, fucking Ryan Hall is fucking taking people out with arm bars and rear naked chokes. So is that one we were talking about where Eddie Cummings was going against a dude who was like laying on his belly, like would not give him his damn legs for anything, and got him in some like twister rear naked choke for his troubles. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, those guys may, like, their most famous sword that they use may be the leg attacks, but the reason they're so effective is because they can use both swords so effectively. And so, yeah, it's just that concept. I think getting people to understand that, because it's not either or, and it's understanding how to use both, and why limit yourself to one sword, because that's just not the fucking smart thing to do. So there you go, man. There's my BJJ lessons for the year.
Right on. There's a lot of BJJ lessons.
Man, it was. I was sitting there thinking about it, and it's just, I mean, a lot of them are kind of, you know, somewhat tied together, but there you go. So, yeah, dude.
You want to keep going, or you want me to dive in? What do you want to do?
I don't know. I'll keep going here.
Have at it. Keep going.
Okay, man. Fitness, daily mobility, just something that I paid lip service to and did a little bit of, but the groin injury and going to the Steve Maxwell seminar really drove that point home for me. So just can't neglect it anymore, man. It's got to be done. 2018 is going to see 30 minutes of fucking mobility work a day, kind of thing. So, and then 2, man, the ramping isos, that was a big thing for me. We talked about that in episode 1, just the power of using those ramping isometrics. And man, I've been using them almost exclusively for my strength training for several months now, and I feel like so much better and so much more consistent with my training too, because I don't end up tweaking anything. You know, I've never had that thing where I'm going to pick up my 16 kilo kettlebell and for some reason, like, what the fuck's wrong with how'd that happen, kind of thing. So, yeah, just understand how to use isometrics. Those 2 things have been fucking super good. Mace runs. Remember the Mace runs? Oh,
yeah, we were doing those back in the springtime, summertime.
Yeah, man, yeah.
We need to find a path around here to do that.
Yeah, we got some spots to do it. So the Mace runs, what we would do is we would take a 10-pound steel mace, and I had a little wooded area near my house, and we would just go for a jog. And we would just run with the maces, and then we would stop and do 360s, and we had little stations where we would jump over stuff, and we'd throw rocks, and we'd had balance things, but it was basically a matter of movement skills. It's like, what are the movement skills that we need as humans that we're not getting? So, you know, jumping and hopping and all these little things. And so really we were going out and it was just, we were playing. It was a lot of fun to just go out and play and do it. But yeah, for me it was the importance of like true functional fitness, which is, you know, if you're going to be fit, like, you know, you should be able to apply that fitness to things like, you know, getting out in the woods and crawling under stuff and hopping over stuff. And yeah, so it was, the Mace runs were a lot of fun. And again, like just kind of one of those lessons I took from the fitness needs to be less in the gym, I think, and finding ways to get outside and reconnect with these natural human movements. So things like MoveNat, you know, that's an organization that's really big into this natural movement stuff. You know, you guys like Ido Portal, like it's actually like a really big, kind of movement within the fitness industry to kind of reconnect with these movements. But I never really understood like the whole MoveNat thing until I started doing the Mace runs, and then I'm like, trying to simulate this stuff in the gym is just not the same thing as getting out and actually doing it. There's just something about like feeling the grass under your hands when you're crawling that it's just different. Your brain interprets it differently, man. So yeah, I thought that was a good.
Plus, it's fun.
Plus, it's just fun, man. Right? Yeah, for sure.
You're outside, you're getting exercise.
Yep. And then, my last thing, I talked about this on the fitness one. This was the year, 2017 was the year that I really came to grips with kettlebell swings being completely overrated and probably not a good idea for the vast majority of people out there exercising for several different reasons. But using things like Indian club swings, even just broad jumps, like if we need to work an explosive hip hinge, there's a lot better ways and more functional ways to do it than the kettlebell swing. And so steering away from that and using a lot more Indian club swings has helped me a lot. And two, just working with people, like I said, I can take people that I wouldn't think of giving a kettlebell swing to for months. I have no business doing a kettlebell swing, but I can hand them a couple Indian clubs, a couple 10-pound Indian clubs, and have them doing a pretty decent Indian club swing, pretty fast because it represents, it's the same movement you use for a broad jump, which is a natural human movement. Like an explosive hip hinge with a wide stance, swinging something between your legs repeatedly. I still defy anyone to show me like what function is that. Like you don't do that. If you're doing that, you're doing it once. We talk about like throwing a rock over your head or like a granny toss, but it's a one-time throw, and then you reset and do it again. You're not repeatedly doing this. And so anyways, but that's I think the Indian club swings have way more to offer, and kettlebell swings are just don't use them anymore in my own programming or my clients. So there you go. That was my fitness lessons.
It's a good lesson.
Yeah.
I think that's probably, that ruffles a lot of feathers, but it's good. And if somebody disagrees with that, it's as simple as go get some Indian clubs and do it, and then get a kettlebell and do it.
Yeah.
Just tell me what feels better.
Yeah.
Simple. It's real simple.
It is, man. It
really is. Once you do some Indian club swings, and you're like, oh, dude, it makes so. Because then, if you were to do an Indian club swing, set it down, you could just do a box jump or jump over something, and you're not moving any position you have going on.
No, yeah.
You're not. You don't have to reset your feet. Nothing. It's still that. A good just body positioning. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I think we talked about before, man. Like, a lot of the Russian athletes' use of kettlebells was to throw them. They were a throwing implement. Like, so kettlebell swings are actually like they're an exercise for a sport. The kettlebell sport. So, but anyways, it's I know it's. Yeah, try it. This is the ultimate idea of meritocracy, right? Like, I didn't go into this saying, like, I want to figure out how kettlebell swing sucks so I can be controversial. I have coached hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people on the kettlebell swing. And I just always just kind of had my eyebrow raised, like, why do they make it sound like this thing is so easy to coach? And everyone, you know what I mean? And then I get people, and 9 out of 10... you got to coach the living shit out of them to keep their form decent. And as soon as you stop, and as soon as they stop focusing so hard on it, things start popping up. And I'm just like, something's not right here. But I used it for years and years and years. We took the RKC and all that and believed in it. But yeah, man, eventually just through my own experience, and the one was the Indian clubs, and then I think I told you I was doing a kettlebell seminar, and there was a guy there who I couldn't get him to do a swing. He'd hurt himself, and I had to give him something though. And so something was like, well, just do a broad jump, and the dude executes a perfect hip hinge. And I was just like, wait a minute. It's like, obviously this guy can hip hinge, he just can't do a kettlebell swing. So like, what's going on here? And it was just that thought process, and then the Indian clubs and some other things that kind of was like, man, if you really sit down, I won't mention his name, but I've actually run this by a pretty famous, well-known strength coach who's involved with the RKC, and he's like, yeah, man, I agree with you. Like, everything that you said, all of your rationale and reasoning is spot on, and I really can't argue with it. So yeah, it's I don't know. It'd be interesting. I plan on kind of putting more of this out this year and kind of seeing what kind of response I get. But I think it's an idea, man. I think it's an idea that people need to think about. If you're a coach or a trainer or you're working out yourself, like think about it, and don't always just
don't accept shit all the time.
Yeah, man. Don't always read stuff that agrees with what you do.
It's easier that way.
Yeah, it is. But you want to, I don't know, I say like I try stuff.
It's less ego ruffling.
It is, man, it is. But I've found myself like, you try something or read something so that you can say that you did and it still sucks. And so hey, at least I tried it. I looked into it. And yeah, I think you're an idiot. I still think you're an idiot. Or you may look into it and be like, maybe there's more than I thought there was here. So, but yeah, it's that idea meritocracy thing. Like, you got to be open to that, not just being right or wrong, because you're afraid to look into things that might disagree with your ideas if your goal is to be right. If your goal is to have the best ideas, then you welcome challenges to them, because you should always be afraid that you're fucking wrong. You're like stupidly wrong, and so that's always my assumption, man. So anyways, there you go, kettlebell swings. And I had a couple good life lessons from books I read last year. One was from that Ray Dalio book, like Work with People That You Like. That was a big one for me, and just kind of looking where I want to go with some of my business stuff and career in 2018. That book, Upside to Your Darkside, that was such a good book, man.
That was such a good book.
It was, man. It was a life-changing book for me on a lot of levels, and I think it's a book that I think everyone should read. I think it's such a valuable lesson that we understand that attaching words, positive and negative, to emotions is so dangerous, and learning how to how to deal with negative emotions properly. I think I was talking with Kiele about it. Like, I look at it now, like, I'm this dude at this command center, and my emotions are like they're indicator lights and warning lights, right? So like, if I'm happy and I'm feeling good, that's an indicator light that, like, okay, things are going well. That's all it is. That's all it is. If I start to feel like angry, well, it's just an indicator that something is wrong, and I just need to, okay, well, what is it? How do I respond to it? If I'm feeling, if I'm not feeling happy, if I'm feeling, I don't know, okay, well, what's going on? It's an indicator light. That's all it is. It's just, your emotions are just an indicator light. You just need to figure out, what is it indicating, and how do I respond to it, and not be like, oh, the anger light over there is bad, and the happiness light over there is good, and I shouldn't have to deal with the anger light, and I shouldn't have to deal with the unhappiness light. Like, that's the whole goal in life, is to just fucking take duct tape and put it over those goddamn things. So even though, like, that's what, like, antidepressants and a lot of these drugs are, right? It's just fucking duct tape being put over those indicator lights. It's not, you're not addressing the problem. You're just covering up the issue, and it's because we think we shouldn't have to feel it, and if we do feel it, there's something wrong with it. So yeah, man, I know you feel the same way. Like, I just thought that book was it's such a good book, and it's definitely going to shape the way that I look at things for the rest of my life heading on. So I thought that was a really good one.
Who wrote that? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Man, I don't.
I can't remember either.
I don't.
I'll put it in the show notes for everybody. That was probably one of the, I would have to say, out of all the books, man, I read some good books last year, but out of all of them, that was probably the most significant as far as, like,
it wasn't a big read, it was a pretty really short read, really good read, well written. So if anybody's thinking,
easy to read,
it's not a 500 word, it's not a 500 page thing. It's
not a 500 page with, you don't have to have a ridiculous vocabulary. Taking everything they're saying.
No, it was real simple, but it was really good. So, all right, man. Last thing, the Extreme Ownership book for me last year. That was another one that really shaped my mindset, and I don't know, just the way that Jocko framed a lot of the lessons that I was aware of and had heard in other places. Just the way that he framed them and explained them through combat, and just like the way that he explained how combat is it's the ultimate idea meritocracy. Did it fucking work? Like, did you complete the mission? Were people killed? Like, what happened? And it's this super compressed time frame too. It's not months and years, it's hours, or days. You see, did it work? Okay, if it did it work again? If it didn't, can we fix it? And so, the way that he approached explaining how to be a good team leader, and the principles behind that. I wrote them all down on a fucking note card, and I look at them every day to remind myself of like, hey, these are the principles that go into being a good leader. And so for me, because I've got this Pedaling Innovations, my bike pedal business that I don't necessarily talk about on this podcast a lot, but I do have the world's best bike pedal that I've created. You can check it out at pedalinginnovations.com. But
shameless plug.
No, it is. It is the world's best bike pedal, guaranteed. But it's a new thing, right? Like I have to look at building a team and being a team leader rather than being a solo artist like I've been for so long with a lot of my other stuff. And so, I thought that book really, again, something that really shaped the way that I look at things. Is going to shape how I look at them moving forward. So there you go, man. That was my takeaways lessons from last year.
It's kind of funny like the lessons I came up with and that I feel I learned or I'm still kind of learning are very similar to what you ended on. Basically, like the overarching lesson of everything is like happiness is on the other side of that struggle. Whether it's a struggle you have to seek out to improve yourself or it's a struggle that's forced upon you just due to life circumstances.
Yeah.
It kind of I didn't even really think about why that lesson popped into my head or why I framed it like that until we brought that book up again, the Upside to Your Darkside. And it's probably where it kind of got those ideas thinking in my head. It's like, because you can't run away from being upset or angry or confused or whatever the emotion is. You can try,
but you're not really doing it.
You're not really. You're just burying it down. You're just stuffing it down in there. And ignoring it's not going to do you any good. You're not going to come out on the other side feeling better.
No.
Because it'll resurface at some point in time.
Yeah.
So I didn't really think about why I came up with that lesson, but now that I think that's it, man.
Yeah.
It's a good damn book.
It is a good book.
But anyway, like the two big lessons I came up with, and I haven't even read Extreme Ownership yet, but the first one lesson I learned, I would say ownership. And what I mean by that, and I broke it down in the life lesson I learned and the jiu-jitsu lesson. They're kind of same, but I got more specific with it. So, like the ownership lesson, I'll get a little bit personal with you guys here for a second. So, my marriage fucked up back in April. It was fucked up before that.
Yeah.
But it finally came to an end in April, May last year. And man, initially, my ego or whatever, the way things went, it was super easy for me just to blame her. I was the perfect husband. It was all her fault. And so shit went sideways. And I thought like that for quite a while, and it made me deal with it easier. You know what I mean? I think that's why my brain went that way. But then I really started thinking about it, and I'm not saying I've got it all the answers figured out, but I started thinking about why things really happened and started looking at what I did to facilitate those shitty things.
Yeah.
And the more I thought about it and the more I really dug into it, man, I was a lot more to blame for things than I cared to admit.
Yeah.
And I'm still, like I say, I still haven't fully fucking embraced it, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it hurts, dude, to think about it, man. It really does. You think about it, dude, because you start replaying little scenarios that happened over the past 10 years we spent together, and little things, little situations that I could have done better at, that were probably just little stepping stones to shit just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, Yeah. And you gotta man, when something goes bad in your life like that, it's really easy to look externally and blame everybody else, man. But there is maybe some external shit that happened, but dude, you can't. It doesn't matter. You can't control those things. You can't control those things. You have to own up to where you're at. What's going on in your life is solely. It's on you, man. You have to own it.
Yeah.
Why did this happen? It happened because of these actions I had. If I would have made different choices at different points in the relationship, it would have changed shit.
Yeah.
Bottom line. Maybe not. Maybe there still would have been the ultimate, finale to it. You don't know.
Yeah.
But that you can't spend a lot of time thinking about that. You just gotta fucking own it, man.
Yeah, own it.
You really do. So that was. I'm still coming to terms with that lesson, man, because it was tough, dude, and it still is tough. But you just fucking own it.
Yeah.
So that was like my life lesson, as far as ownership goes. Now, as far as ownership goes in jiu-jitsu, the same thing. Like, I got promoted to black belt in February, and I'm not happy with where my jiu-jitsu's at. I don't feel like I'm, a good black belt in any way, shape, or form. But that's nobody else's fault but my own.
Yeah.
None. Because you can sit there and, and pick that apart too. Like, well, okay, I'm not as good as where I'm at because I don't know how many other reasons you want to come up with, man. Because, my training partners aren't great. I don't have the best coach in the world. I work too much. I can't train enough. Like, I can give you 1,000 reasons that, but no, man, it's on you.
Yeah.
It's every time I step on the mat, it's my decision. It's what am I going to practice today? But it's 100% on me. It's nobody else's decisions, So
yeah,
I think that's a very important one. I think the life lesson really is slamming it home for me, and I can tease that apart and put it into other areas of my life.
Yeah.
So that ownership, like you said, I haven't even read that book yet, man. But that ownership, I think it's huge, dude.
It is.
I think it's really important.
Yeah, it's huge, man.
And then so that kind of goes right into the next lesson. As far as just embracing starting over in something, and embracing that shitty period of not being good at something. And so as far as life lesson, the obvious thing, like marriage went south, we split up. So now I'm starting over, like, dude, I'm back to being a bachelor again. Dude, it's weird, man. Like, I still have not figured that out yet, but I'm embracing it. Like, there's some good shit about it. There's some crappy stuff about it. You know what I mean? But me being upset about it or ignoring it's not changing it.
Yeah.
You just got to embrace it, man. Like, this is where I'm at, man.
It's a new adventure.
It's a new adventure. And it's very similar to the ownership. You're like, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm owning it. Let's just make the best of it. Come out on the other, again, happiness on the other side of that struggle. Just go through that struggle, and there's happiness out there, and then there's more struggle. But and then as far as jiu-jitsu, embracing that struggle, starting over, like in this sea of badass jiu-jitsu black belts, like I'm a white belt, I'm starting over. And so it's okay that I'm, in my opinion, a shitty black belt. Like, I'm just starting over, man. Like, it's just like the new person walking into and learning jiu-jitsu for the very first time, an actual white belt. It's uncomfortable. It's very similar mindset, I would have to think.
Yeah.
Because you're walking into a jiu-jitsu gym and you have no martial arts training, you're walking onto the mat with all these people that can just strangle the shit out of you at will. And it's a humbling feeling. And you're either going to run from it or you're going to be like, cool, I got to get better. Like, this is awesome. It's the same thing for me, man. Like, I got promoted to black belt. Now you step into a mat full of black belts, dude. Man, you're bottom of the food chain. Every person in here is just going to strangle the fuck out of you again. Yeah. And you thought you were good. So it sucks, but it's cool, too, because you just have so much room to grow.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the mindset I have to get into,
Yeah.
And I'm getting better with that mindset. It's not 100% concrete, like, I got this, but
yeah,
it's a lesson. I'm learning it, so.
Yeah, man.
Those were my two big lessons. I didn't go as detailed as you did, James, but.
Well, it's all right. I sat there for a few minutes thinking this morning, so. No, man, yeah. I mean, like I said, they're kind of similar with some of those things. I think the ownership thing is important. I think, that's a big one, man. That's it's either like blaming other people, or I just finished the Ego is the Enemy this morning by Ryan Holiday, and he talked about, like, in the book, you're basically at one of three stages in life. You either, ambition, you're aspiring to something, success, or failure. I mean, life's just, you get an idea for something, you work at it, you finally achieve it, you get success.
Or you don't.
Or you don't, or you get success and things fuck up and you go failure and you got to start over. So, we're always in this continual cycle of these three things. And so, the ego at all three stages of them is always the enemy. but especially with the failure stuff, it's funny. I was going off on. I hate arguing with people on the internet, but because through my Bike James, online thing, I've got some people that don't like me because I say things that I think are true, but may not necessarily be always popular. So, for example, like I think that it's not normal for people to not be able to walk around without orthotics. Like I think that the human foot is strong and functional and capable, and that I've personally seen people get away from using orthotics and stuff, from starting to integrate more barefoot training and better footwear and things like that into their life. But I had an article posted on just some things you can do to help improve your foot health for cycling, and somebody comes on and they're all, well, this just doesn't take into account people who have problems and they need orthotics and stuff like that. And I just realized, like, man, people love their fucking boxes. You know what I mean? Like I failed, I can't do this. Well, this person's come along, this medical professional's come along, and he's given me a box. He's told me I have flat feet. And so now, even though I maybe say I don't like having flat feet, there's something comforting about that excuse. There's something comfortable about
it. Gives you an
out.
Box.
It gives you an out. You don't, now your failure is not your fault. It's this box that this person gave you. And people get really attached to their boxes, and you try to tell them, like, hey man, you know what, that box may not actually be true. You may be, restraining yourself and you don't need to, and you watch them get defensive. Like, how dare you attack my box and tell me that it's not real? It's my box and blah, blah, blah. And you don't know what it's like to live in it and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, look, man, okay, like, fine. But just know, like, you're so limiting yourself with this mindset of letting people paint boxes for you to give you outs for stuff. But yeah, man, that ego and trying to look to blame other people and other things when you fail is I
think it's such a dangerous spiral too. Like what you touched on is when you're looking for a reason why shit's not going the way you want it, whether it's your health or whatever it is, and you're looking for external reasons for it, you're also going to start looking for external fixes.
Yeah.
Like I think that orthotics one's a perfect example, is, if your ankle hurts, your foot hurts, your knees, your hip, whatever, up the food chain. Instead of thinking, hey man, maybe I need to move a little bit more. Maybe I need to exercise a little bit more.
Some fucking weight.
Yeah. Maybe you need to stop drinking diet soda.
God damn.
And eating Twinkies.
But of course, then they got an excuse because the doctor told them they got a slow metabolism. Right, so they got a box for why they can't do that.
If you're always looking for those external reasons as to why you're not doing great, you're always going to look for external fixes instead of just saying, okay, man, let's fix this for myself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that when they get sick. They get a little cold or, a flu or whatever it is. Boom, now head straight to the doctor and look for an antibiotic. No, dude, don't do that, man. Like, you don't need it. No. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a place
for all of this.
There's a time and place for antibiotics. I'm not going to argue that, obviously. But for your standard cold or flu, sinus infection, whatever, dude, your body should be able to take care of that.
Yeah.
With just stay hydrated, your rest, eat good food, and your body will sort it out.
Yeah.
But
a healthy body should.
It will. I mean, there is exceptions to it. But if it's just your standard cold and flu, and you don't have some autoimmune disease, antibiotics are going to end up screwing you more up in the long run, man. They destroy your gut microbiome. Like, it's
important for your immune system.
It's important for your immune system. So you just get this bad cycle going on. It's funny. I just had to explain this to my niece the other day because she was raised by my parents, so we basically came up the same way. And this is my mom's mindset that and she gets sick all the time. Like, she's not the healthiest person, man. I love her to death, and I'm concerned about her. I can't ever get through to her with this mindset. We talked about this with these principles. But if she gets sick, dude, runs to the doctor, gets a prescription. Runs to the doctor, gets a prescription. So now, man, she's got this litany of pills and different things the doctor's telling her to do. And that's how I was brought up, man, when I was a kid. Like, I got sick, she took us to the doctor, man. Like, and so I've been still kind of fighting off those effects as I've gotten older. Like, I've each year as I'm being healthier and healthier, I've been getting sick less and less.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten away from like those antibiotics and stuff, man. If I get sick, I just learn to fight it off. But that damaged me as a kid. You know, because I just was on so many antibiotics all the time. She didn't know. She loved me, man. She thought that was the answer.
Right, no, me too. Yeah.
She thought that was the answer. And I see that, like, my niece, she lives with me now. She got sick. And she, you know, I got home the other day and she comes talking to me and she's all sinusy sounding. I'm like, oh, don't breathe on me. And she's like, oh, I went to the doctor today and got an antibiotic. And it took me, man. I waited a day or two to where she was feeling a little bit better, you know, so I wouldn't, you know, upset her too much. And I tried to explain this to her. I was like, listen, I know where you're coming from. You got raised the same way I did. That's the answer. You go get a pill, makes you feel better. I was like, but don't do that. I was like, I'm going to really ask you, the next time you get sick, don't go get an antibiotic. You know, like, if it's just little sniffles, a cold, you can even feel miserable. Like, and I'm explaining it to her. And I seen it, like, at first it kind of, like, like you said, struck her the wrong way a little bit. But as I explained it to her a little bit, you know, without really trying to, like, geek out on it or anything, I could see it kind of registering. But it's a paradigm shift with people. You're looking for that external shit that's going to make you better.
Yeah.
And no, it's not, man. It's funny. It's a funny thing.
Yeah. It's funny, man. Yeah. People love their boxes.
They do.
Love their reasons why they can't do stuff. So, and obviously there's...
You know, you've been a fitness coach for I don't know how many years. How many times have you heard people say, I can't squat? I can't squat. That one, man.
I can't squat.
Doctor says I can't squat. You know, so I just can't squat anymore. Like, oh, dude. Like,
but when they decide that they can, like once you know, after talking to them and showing them some things, and so once they decide that they can, they start working towards it. It's amazing. Like, they may not get a perfect squat, but they can get so much closer to what is a perfect squat than what the doctor told them they would be able to do. I had a couple guys, again, with, you know, wrist injuries. People breaking their wrists is pretty common injury in mountain biking. And I had two friends that came in and trained with me, and they had really bad wrist breaks. And again, same thing, man. Like, doctors had told them, you'll never be able to put your hands flat on the ground like to do push-ups. You'll always have to do knuckle push-ups or whatever. You'll never be able to flex your hand back. And man, after it took a while, but after a year or so, they're both doing push-ups with their hands flat on the ground, like their wrist mobility is right back to where it was. And it was just because, you know, they refused to be constrained by that box and work towards it. And so, yeah, you just got to be careful with letting people put limits on you. And that's a tough thing, because a lot of people look up to doctors. In a lot of ways they should, man. And a lot of doctors you come across are pretty smart freaking people, man. Well, they haven't got to where they're at because they're dummies. Yeah, well, I think like Chris Kresser on his last Joe Rogan Experience explained it better. He's like, man, if I get hit by a bus, Western medicine is great. I get cancer, Western medicine is great. It's like, but you know, if I have problems that are just symptoms of an unhealthy lifestyle, like, that's Western medicine is not geared for that. And that's the problem, is that a lot of people are, and the doctors don't necessarily look at it that way either. That's not the way that they're taught. Like, I mean, let's just, you know, admit it. Like, you know, doctors are basically taught, like, you guys are just one step under God, if that, you know. Some of them think that way, but their knowledge is limited in the areas of what it takes to be truly healthy. Like, they can really help you if you have a traumatic injury or something like that. And so, I mean, I see it myself. And my family's, you know, got, you know, some of the same things where, you know, doctors giving them a box and a pill, and now that's the reason that they, you know, are this way. And so, okay, that's fine. But in a lot of ways, that's limiting you. I know that you can accomplish more, but, you know, people don't want to be disturbed with that sometimes. But
it's more work too.
I know, man, it is. And the thing too is, like, realizing, like, people like us, when we try to challenge those things, like, we're not just trying to be assholes, right? Like, it makes us grumpy. Like, it was funny. Like, I was going off, man. This chick pissed me off, man. I was so freaking, you know, I was talking to Shiloh about it. Like, I was just, and I was like, man, this is when I get grumpy. This is where the grumpy guy comes out, is when I just people just limit themselves and they don't even realize it, and they're fighting me because they think I'm the enemy, and I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you be a better person. I'm trying to help you achieve things that you didn't think you could achieve, and you're pissed at me because I'm challenging you. You know, to do that, I have to challenge some beliefs that you hold about yourself and what's possible, and you think that it's coming from this place to attack you instead of a place to try to like help you. And yeah, that's the thing where I don't understand, where, you know, I just have to, and people, you know, having a 4-year-old, I realize there's a lot of fucking big 4-year-olds running around out there that never really mentally grew up past that, you know, the stage of being a kid, and like, I'm the most important thing in the world, and, you know, I should never feel uncomfortable, and how dare you, you know, challenge me and stuff like that. It's like, man, that's a rough way to go through life. You're going to make a lot of mistakes and not learn from any of them. And
so many people operate in that zone right there, man. It's like they spend so much time of their life in that zone, and they don't, because like I say, we've talked about it a million freaking times, and we will talk about it a million more times. It's uncomfortable to question those things.
Yeah.
You know, it is, man. It's way easier just to put it in cruise control and just whoosh.
Yeah. I know, man. It's easy to do with jiu-jitsu too, man. You roll with the same training partners and avoid like the hard rolls, the dudes that you know are going to give you the challenge, and then, you know, you get exposed, and it's easy to make excuses for stuff. But yeah, man, it's everything's just a reflection of everything, how you handle. I mean, that's it, man. How you handle life's going to be how you handle jiu-jitsu. So that's why, you know, learning how to handle jiu-jitsu better can help you handle life better. And I think that's why jiu-jitsu is such a great fucking tool for people, man.
I don't think there's any other martial art that'll do that for you. You know, I've spent so many years of my life in martial arts. Like my dad started me in karate when I was like 5, Tang Sudo, Korean karate. I did Hapkido, you know, a bunch of random shit throughout pretty much my whole life. Man, there's no other one that's going to help you with life itself more than jiu-jitsu. Yeah. It's because it's so hard, man. It's a difficult endeavor. You know, it's not an easy, if you want to call it a hobby. Like, I've had somebody ask me that the other day. You know, what's your favorite hobby? And initially, okay, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You know, it's easy. I don't have to think about that for a second. But then I was like, man, I feel like I'm doing it a disservice to call it a hobby.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't like calling it a hobby, because to me it's way more than that.
No, it's like, once I finally start playing the guitar, like, guitar will be a hobby.
Right.
Like, jiu-jitsu is like
my
lifestyle.
My little hobby I have now, and I'm embarrassed to admit this in public, is disc golf.
Oh, dude. And I'm the one who got him into it.
Dude, it's so much fun.
It's so much fun.
I'm so terrible at it, and that is some of the beauty of it. It's fun, and that's a hobby. You know,
yes.
That's it. And jiu-jitsu is, I mean, dude, you could put a lot of labels on it other than a hobby that I would accept more. Like, dude, you could call it a religion. You could call it, dude, it's my life. It's like my lifestyle. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Hobbies,
I don't know, man.
I
think it was, again, I keep quoting Musashi in the Book of Five Rings, but he talks about it there. He's like, man, if you're a warrior 24/7. Like you're like right now, like we're jiu-jitsu guys. Like, I don't know what is the word for jiu-jitsu. Like, you know, mountain bikers are mountain bikers. Like someone who does jiu-jitsu. Like, I've heard like jiu-jitsu. I don't know if I like that word.
I don't like that word either.
I don't really like a BJJ athlete, but I think that's almost a little, you know, not. I don't know.
Like I've heard other things.
It's really funny, man. I got to be honest with you. I've never really seen a sport that doesn't have a really just solid term for the people who do it.
Well, I guess a lot of sports probably don't. Like,
baseball player. If you play baseball, you're a baseball player. If you play soccer, you're a soccer player. If you play golf, you're a golfer.
We're not. Yeah, I was just going to say that, but I guess we're not jiu-jitsu players. I mean, you
motocross
could be.
rider. I mean, BMXer. I mean, there's like every other sport I've ever come across has like a pretty solid term that everyone knows. Like, this describes. When I say this, I'm talking about someone who does this sport. I don't know.
For us, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy.
I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, BJJ enthusiast. I don't know. It's funny.
I'm not a jiu-jitsuer. I'm not a jiu-jitsu player.
Like, I don't know.
No, there isn't one.
There isn't one, man.
That's it. We're going to come up with one.
Well, good luck. I don't know if I'd pin that on us. But yeah, man. I mean, whatever that word is, like, right now, that's us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I go, it's who we are. It's not, and so there is no real separation in my mind between my lifestyle, my life in jiu-jitsu. You know, like I make decisions in the morning what I'm going to put into my body because I know how it's going to affect my jiu-jitsu. Like I make decisions during the day that are directly reflective of what I want to accomplish and what I'm doing with jiu-jitsu. So I don't do that with disc golf. I don't do that with the guitar. So you know what I mean? So like that's where I think like we were talking about like a hobby, something that you care about enough to have fun with it, but you don't give a shit enough to get like all upset and angry over it. And like I care about jiu-jitsu enough. I get upset and angry over it, man. I come back sometimes from some ass whippings and I'm just like fucking stewing, man. Yeah. And I don't feel like that with, you know, anything else. So yeah, it's that is the thing, man, that jiu-jitsu becomes. It's not a lot of other things do that it just becomes invades your whole life.
I wonder what that is, man. Is it because it's just so difficult, and when you get those little glimpses of when you understand, you start understanding it better, and you get those little glimpses of that flow state, or like when it really comes together, man, and you have a great match or something. Like I don't know, man. I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's something primal, man. I think
there's no end result. There's no top of the mountain. I mean, there is, but they're still growing from there. Yeah. There's no.
I think it scratches a primal itch, man. I think that we're hardwired for it. We are wired. I mean, fleeing, fighting, and fucking. Like that's what humans are made to do. You know what I mean? We're either like running to or from something, or fighting. Or you know, we're procreating, reproducing. I mean, and the three are intimately tied together. That's it, right? And so, fighting is ingrained in us. It is hardwired into the human brain. And so, there's something about jiu-jitsu that like taps into that tribal thing that a lot of us don't have in today's society. It taps into the self-empowerment that comes from knowing how to fight and defend yourself, that we're hardwired. Like I think there's something, I think
it taps into a lot of different things. Like you say, that the DNA of wanting to fight or needing to fight, and the tribe. Like, I think there's a lot of things, and the challenge, the struggle, you know, of not being good at something, be like, okay, I can get better at this. Like this is,
yeah.
I think it taps a lot of deep seated nerves that you have.
Yeah, man. It's one of those. Again, it's you see in a very short time frame what, you know, hard work and dedication. And again, we've talked about this before too. It's a spot where it doesn't matter who you are, right? It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what your status outside the gym is. Like inside that gym, you are judged by, you know, what kind of training partner you are and how hard you work. And so you're judged by who you are as a person, not what society labels you as or who society sees you as. And so I think that's just, it's such an important thing for people that most people don't even realize that they need, you know, like, God, I mean, because, you know, it's your job's all politics and who do you know, and, you know, what school did you go to, and what good old boy network are you in, and stuff like that. And you know, dating, same thing. How much money do you have? What car do you have? It's like, dude, none of that shit matters on the mat. None of it.
You know, maybe it's jiu-jitsu that's changed me too. Is like a lot of times, you know, the common thing when you meet somebody new, man, one of the first questions so many people ask you is, what do you do for a living? You know, so many people do. Dude, I don't like asking that question, because I feel like there's like an immediate judgment there.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get a feel for, okay, what's this guy do for a living? How much money does he make? Is he kind of in my ballpark? Where's he at in the social hierarchy?
Yes.
I think that's what that question is a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't like that question. I have, like, for the past couple years of my life, I've been pretty adamant about like not making that my first question for somebody.
Yeah.
I usually don't like. I've had training partners that, man, we train with them for 6 months before I'm like, hey, dude, what do you do for a living? Just curious, like, what do you do? You know, I was like, Al, one of our buddies we trained with, you know, an ex-military dude, and I didn't know that for quite a while. Like, I trained with him, and he's such a nice dude. And one day he was like cross-facing the shit out of me, and like, dude, I mean, he was cross-facing me, and we were training pretty hard, and And he's a big dude, and I'm thinking to myself, like, this dude could just break my face right now. I was like, but Al's so nice. He's probably like a kindergarten teacher. You know, like, he's such a nice guy, dude. Like, I'm not, like, yeah, this kind of hurts, but I don't think Al's going to kill me right here, so I'm okay. And then it was that same day I asked him, I'm like, Al, what do you do for a living? And then he started telling me, like, about his military background.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, if I would have known that ahead of time, I would have been way more afraid of this crossface.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that about him for a long time. And I think that's really cool. Because, again, you're judged by who you really are. Because when you're on the mat...
Yeah, how you act, how you treat people.
When you're on the mat, who you really are is going to get exposed eventually.
Yeah.
You may be able to put on this mask or these little facades you can come up with. But, man, when you're really getting your ass kicked... or you get, we've talked about it before, someone accidentally knees you in the eye and you get a shiner, like, those instances are going to bring out who you really are.
Yeah.
And that there ain't no running from that.
No.
And that's what's really cool. It's so much cooler. Life's so much cooler on the mat than it is outside the real world.
It makes so much more sense there, man.
There's no bullshit.
No, there's no bullshit.
You can sit here and be the best salesman in the world and tell me how great you are at jiu-jitsu. That's cool, man. Let's just slap hands.
I know.
Let's just slap hands and see. Dude, that's such a cool thing. There's no bullshit there, man.
Nah, I mean, I've told you this before. I mean, that's why I like jiu-jitsu people better than mountain bikers. I mean, because mountain biking, God, dude, you can have the right bike and get the equipment and look the part and talk the part and, like, really, like, no one really knows, like, no one's watching you ride all the time, and it's easy to come up with excuses, and, God, you run into so many fucking egos, like, just outsized egos. People just think they're just so much better than they are, and it just drives you nuts. And, you just don't run into that nearly as much in jiu-jitsu, because, like you said, it's like, oh, okay, we say you're good, okay, well, we'll roll at the end of class and we'll find out. And oh, that's good, man. Okay, great. Slap hands. They're like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, who gave this guy his, belt? Where, he's pulling our leg. What's going on here? So, yeah, like the fake, black belt promotions. Like, I mean, you could be a fake pro mountain biker. No one would ever know.
That's what's so funny about that is you'll see those stories online about some fake black belt. Getting exposed because he turns up at a random gym and says he's a jiu-jitsu black belt. Dude, that is the only way you would ever think that is feasible is if you've never done jiu-jitsu.
I know.
That's the only way. Because you can't bullshit that.
No.
Dude, you can't. I've come across that in my jiu-jitsu training. Like, I've trained with somebody. I remember, I'm not going to put this guy on blast or anything, but this dude told me, he was a jiu-jitsu black belt. And at the time, I was like a 2-stripe blue belt. Had only been training, a couple years or whatever. And I was just your average blue belt, man. Nothing special. And this dude outweighed me by 30 pounds. Said he was a jiu-jitsu black belt. So I should have just got mollywopped. I shouldn't have had a prayer. This dude should have been able to put one hand behind his back.
Oh, yeah.
And just toy with me. Dude, he couldn't do anything with me. And Ray, I didn't call him out on it, but right then and there, I was just like, all right, man, this dude's not telling me the truth. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. Somebody outweighs me by 30 pounds, and he says he's a jiu-jitsu black belt. I'm like, no, man. And that's funny. You can't bullshit that, man.
No, you can't bullshit it in jiu-jitsu, man.
You can't bullshit it.
It will.
It's got its own built-in filter, man.
It does, man. Yeah, the bullshit filter in jiu-jitsu is good. That's why I like it. It's like I said, it's the ultimate idea meritocracy. It's got a built-in bullshit filter, and it's unlike a lot of sports. So that's why I've gravitated towards it so much. And it's funny, man. People that know me as Bike James, I run into them and they keep asking me, "Oh, you been riding your bike much?" And it's like, yeah, no, not really, man. I just keep finding myself in the gym doing jiu-jitsu. So, there's obviously a lot of other things. I got a family now and a dog, and so it's like easier to get the family out. And mountain biking it's a production, man. Getting that bike on the car and making sure you got air in the tires,
got all the gear,
all the gear together, and drive out there. And it's so much fun, man. I still love it, but yeah, it's why jiu-jitsu, man. I think I told the story before. I knew something changed in my mind when I stopped dreaming about hitting big jumps and I started dreaming about choking people out. it's like, all right, my brain's definitely switched. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy.
It's funny. There's those little signs along the way. Like if you're just starting jiu-jitsu, there's these little signs that'll pop up that know you've been bitten by the bug, man. When you start dreaming about it, you start doing moves in your sleep. Like you'll wake yourself up, like shrimping or like free, in a scramble, and it wakes you up. That's when you know, like, it's a problem, but it's a good problem to have.
Yes, it's occupying your mind there. So, well, cool, brother. Well, I think Akka here is telling us it's time to wrap this up.
I think it is time to wrap it up.
We got our, my dog Akka hangs out with us during the podcast, so if you ever hear some shaking or whatever in the background, that's him making a little disturbance. He's usually pretty good. He's my trail mutt. He chases our disc too. It's funny, man. He's got his disc. And he's pretty good about it. He knows, like, he'll chase his disc and grab it and bring it back, and he'll chase our disc and usually leave him alone. Every once in a while, he'll forget it, get one of our discs and grab one and bring it back. So that's why disc golf's great, because it's fucking cheap. Like, he chews up a $15 disc and you're not like all angry over it. So, but yeah, brother, we're right on. Well, guess that's it. I guess kind of wrapping up the usual stuff. You guys can hit us up at grumpyguybjj@gmail.com. And we love to hear your comments, questions. If you write in with any questions, we'll read them and answer them on the air. And yeah, you can check us out on Podbean and iTunes. And
we're on. I'm working on getting us everywhere. Like, so right now, obviously, we're on Podbean, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on Spreaker, we're on iHeartRadio now.
Oh, nice.
We're working on Spotify. I guess the people who are at Spotify they're kind of picky, and so you got to submit this application, yada yada yada. So that's in the works. I'm waiting to hear back from them. iHeartRadio is kind of similar. It took a while for them to get back, but we're there now too.
Cool.
So we're getting there, man.
Yeah,
I want to be everywhere you can listen to podcasts. So
yeah,
it's a process. Google, did I say Google Play? We're on Google.
Yeah, Google Play now.
We're on Google Play.
Excellent. Yeah, producer Rob, man, putting in work.
Trying, man.
And if you guys haven't caught his fun pictures he posts on Facebook for our
Instagram,
for our
Facebook,
podcast and Instagram, it's pretty good. He's got some hidden talents that he didn't let us know. So yeah, but obviously, rating, comments, all those things are greatly appreciated on any of those forums. And then also, excuse me, you can go to grumpyguybjj.com, and in the right-hand column, you'll see click here to sign up for podcast updates. And we also include a free workout program for you based on the ramping isometrics and tempo training stuff we talked about in episode 1. So yeah, go there and sign up for that. And I think that's about it, man.
Keep an eye out for our videos from last week's seminar.
Yeah, the side control workshop.
The side control workshop. Those are going to be up soon.
Yep, have those
available for purchase. So be some good stuff on there. I think that's it, man.
Yeah, that's it. So, all right, we'll wrap it up. So, once again, it's been Rob and James with GrumpyGuyBJJ.com, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Peace.